So, the number one thing obviously is water, right? We can't live for more than a couple days without it. I like it in the form of coffee and wine, but I appreciate a fresh cup of water too. Water obviously is very important. So typically there are three ways that a property gets water. Number one, it's in a municipal water district. So that would be like if you're in San Francisco, you turn on your tap, you get water through the city of San Francisco. They have a big reservoir up in Yosemite called Hetch Hetchy, and there's your water. Number two is if you have a private water district. So it's not uncommon in some of the rural areas for 10, 12, 50 neighbors to all share one water source and the cost and responsibility for maintaining that water infrastructure. And that would be called a private water district. And so that's important to know. If your water is non-native, meaning it doesn't come from your property itself, you would want to know what the maintenance agreement was, what the costs were, what the governing body was that maintained that water district. Do they have enough capital reserves? Are they maintaining the infrastructure for that water? Yada, yada, yada. The third type of water source would be a private well. And so with a private well, the source of your water is on the land that you're buying, and typically you would get a well inspection. Now, well inspection measures a couple very important things. First of all, we have your water tested. We want to make sure that it's drinkable. Does it have lead, arsenic, or coliform? Those are things that I would always encourage my buyers and sellers, if they're thinking about selling a property with a well, I would always encourage my clients to know that information. The next thing you want to know with a well is how deep it is. Is it a 50-foot well? Is it a 250-foot well? The deeper a well is drilled, the more expensive it was to drill it, and the more likely that it's not going to run out of water anytime soon. There's some other important statistics when you're getting a well inspection. The most important is what we call GPMs, or gallons per minute. That is a way of measuring the volume of water that a well produces, GPMs. So I've seen wells that had 1 GPM. I've seen wells that had 100 GPMs. And depending upon what you're planning on doing with your property, how big it is, and what your usages are you going to have a pool? Are you going to have grapes? Are you planning on, feeding 100 thirsty head of cattle? Depending upon what your usages or your planned usages are going to be for that property, you'll be able to evaluate whether you have enough water coming out of the ground. Now, in places where the GPMs, or gallons per minute for a well, are low, it's not uncommon for property owners to put what's called a surface mount tank. Now, if you've seen my rural property series on buying land, you probably have seen me rambling and talking about surface mount tanks. And if you haven't, check out that video as well. Surface mount tanks are a way to store water on the surface of your property so that you can use it at a rate that is faster than your well will provide. So if I want to use 20 gallons a minute because I want to run my washing machine, I want to bathe the dog, I want to water my garden, and I want to wash the car all at the same time, if I want to do that and my well production won't accommodate that volume of usage at one specific time, then I'm going to want to get a surface mount tank. Now, a surface mount tank can store thousands and thousands of gallons. They come in all shapes and sizes, short and squat, tall. You could paint them. They come green, so you can tuck them behind the trees. And so with a surface mount tank, you can use your water at a higher rate than your well produces it. It's also good because in the event that you have a power outage and you don't have a backup generator, your well isn't going to give you any water. So you run out of power, you're going to run out of water. And that's probably not going to go over well for the occupants in your home who want to either wash dishes, flush a toilet, or run a load of laundry. So surface mount tanks are something that's important when you have low gallons per minute. There's a couple other important criteria for evaluating wells. One is called the drawdown. So if you have a 200-foot well, but at 30 feet you reach water, the well inspection will pump the water, tell you how many gallons per minute the well produces, and how far down they can draw the water down into the well. The other important thing is you want to always check a well inspection to see if, in fact, they lost suction or pressure while they were drawing the water down. So those are the types of inspections that I think are important to evaluate the infrastructure, especially since we can't see what's going on underneath the ground. We can't evaluate the health of a well unless we actually hire one of these companies to create this information for us.